story begins with a sect known as the Sword Sect. It was a completely ordinary day, until one of the disciples noticed something strange in the atmosphere. Suddenly, the sky darkened and became filled with heavy black clouds, making everyone think that rain was about to fall. But what came down was not rain. It was violent lightning bolts striking the ground one after another. With every strike of lightning, terrifying creatures known as thunder beasts appeared. These monsters were incredibly powerful, and the disciples were unable to stop them, or even stand against them. Panic quickly spread among them, and they began fleeing in fear. At that moment, the sect leader himself appeared. His name was Joe, and the instant he saw the destruction caused by the beasts, he was consumed by rage and rushed forward to confront them. Joe ordered all the disciples to attack and defend the sect with everything they had. As the battle raged on, a mysterious figure appeared in the distance, silently watching the scene with clear excitement. The story then shifts to our protagonist, Bai, who was undergoing brutal training in an attempt to reach a level of power known as the Foundation Realm. A tremendous burst of energy erupted from him and destroyed his training grounds. Yet despite all of that effort, he failed once again to break through. We later learn that this was not his first attempt, but one of countless failures over the course of 3,000 years. Although reaching the Foundation Realm was considered relatively easy for members of the Sword Sect, Bai remained unable to achieve it. Even so, his strength was extraordinary, earning him the title of Sword Master, and everyone feared and respected him as though he were the true ruler of the sect. While training, he heard the sounds of battle coming from the top of the mountain and immediately rushed toward the battlefield. Back at the battlefield, Joe was still fiercely fighting the Thunder Beasts. He managed to defeat several of them, but their overwhelming numbers made the situation increasingly difficult. Realizing they could not hold out much longer, he ordered one of the warriors to summon Master Bai at once. The disciple hurried off, only to discover that Bai was already on his way to the fight. Since Bai had not yet reached the Foundation Realm, he was unable to fly on a sword like the others and had to rely on the elevator. The disciple offered to carry him on his sword so they could arrive faster, but Bai refused, took the sword from him, left him standing on the elevator, and leapt toward the battlefield himself. At that same moment, Joe noticed that the Thunder Beasts had suddenly retreated. Then the man controlling them finally revealed himself. Fang, the leader of the demonic sect. Fang mocked their weakness in the face of the Thunder Beasts, which only fueled Joe's anger. When Joe demanded to know why he had attacked the sect, Fang calmly explained that he had come specifically to face Sword Master Bai, and that everything that had happened was merely part of his plan to draw him out. Just then, Bai arrived, landing with such force that a large portion of the area was shattered. Joe could only watch in sorrow as more of the sect headquarters was destroyed. Fang stood before Bai and proudly declared that he had passed the Thunder Trial and reached a great stage of power known as the Grand Realm. He then mocked Bai for still being unable to reach the Foundation Realm. Those words enraged Bai, who instantly lunged at him and began a fierce battle. However, Fang was no match for him at all, and Bai defeated him with ease while Joe watched helplessly as the sect grounds suffered even greater destruction. After his defeat, Fang rose to his feet, amazed by Bai's overwhelming strength, and asked him for one more strike. Bai refused, but before leaving, Fang thanked him for the battle and told him he had brought a gift. Bai showed no interest at first, but the moment he learned it was a technique that might help him finally reach the Foundation Realm, he immediately accepted it. The gift was an ancient scroll written in a strange language that Fang had discovered during his Thunder Trial journey. Bai ordered Joe to translate the scroll and bring him some medicinal herbs. Joe was still in shock over the damage done to the sect and was busy calculating the losses. However, his entire mood changed the instant Fang offered to compensate for all the destruction he had caused. Filled with joy, Joe hurried off at once to fulfill Bai's request and gather the herbs he needed. That night, Bai returned to his training grounds. We learn that he needed those herbs simply to stay alive, because true immortality could only be obtained by reaching the Foundation Realm. Since Bai had failed to reach it, he had been forced to rely on those herbs for 3,000 years. As he prepared them, he suddenly felt as if someone was watching him from behind the door. He stepped outside to investigate, but found no one there. Then, without warning, a figure appeared behind him. Hades, the ghost responsible for guiding the souls of the dead to the spirit realm. Because of his countless failed attempts to claim Bai's soul, the two had become something like old acquaintances. This time, Hades informed him that he had come under direct orders from the immortal emperor to finally take his soul away. Hades offered Bai a chance to surrender willingly and gain a high position in the spirit realm, but Bai firmly refused. He insisted that he would improve the quality of his herbs and continue living as he always had. Hades warned him that his obsession with immortality would eventually drive him insane, but Bai declared that he was closer than ever to reaching the Foundation realm. This led to another clash between them, and as always, it ended with Bai's victory. The next morning, Joe arrived at Bai's house carrying the herbs he had requested. After handing them over, Bai ordered him to bring workers to repair the roof that had been destroyed during his fight with that strange ghost. And so Bai's journey continued, a journey that had lasted for thousands of years as he relentlessly pursued his greatest dream, finally reaching the Foundation realm. We then learn that Bai had struck a deal with Hades, securing himself only a few more days to find stronger medicinal herbs capable of extending his life. That was why he had asked Joe to gather them. But Joe explained that finding such herbs had become extremely difficult. Most of the sex fighters had already surpassed the Foundation realm and no longer needed them, so no one had purchased them in ages. Even so, Joe promised that he would search with all his strength. Afterward, Bai descended the mountain and decided to search for the herbs himself among the neighboring sects. Along the way, he was stopped by a group of bandits who demanded that he hand over everything he had or face death. Bai wondered why they were gathered in that place. But before he could think further, two of them suddenly attacked him. In that very instant, a mysterious warrior appeared and effortlessly eliminated them. Bai immediately noticed the warrior's remarkable skill and stepped forward to thank him. However, the warrior assumed Bai was weak and spoke to him with arrogance, ordering him to leave because the area was far too dangerous. Before the man could depart, Bai asked where he was heading. The warrior answered that he was on his way to kill demons, which surprised Bai, because exterminating demons was supposed to be the duty of the sword sect. So he secretly decided to follow him and see what was really going on. Night fell, and the warrior finally arrived at a cave inhabited by demons, while Bai watched him from a distance. Suddenly, one of the demons appeared and attacked, but the warrior managed to kill it with ease. However, a large number of demons soon rushed out all at once, forcing him to fight desperately while trying to escape. In the end, they completely surrounded him and came close to ending his life. Just as one of the demons was about to deliver the final blow, a sudden attack came flying from afar and sliced its head off instantly. It was Bai who had saved him, appearing out of nowhere and calmly saying that he had come to help. He quickly carried the warrior to safety and ordered him to wait in a secure place. Then he returned to the battlefield and slaughtered the demons one after another without mercy, wiping them all out in the blink of an eye. The warrior was stunned by Bai's incredible strength, and it was then revealed that he was not a man at all, but a girl in disguise named Tang. She looked at Bai in confusion and asked why he had not defended himself earlier when the bandits attacked him. Bai calmly replied that she had never given him the chance to intervene. She then explained that the growing number of demons and the chaos they were causing had thrown the kingdom into complete disorder, leaving its people in grave danger. Tang recognized just how powerful Bai was and asked him to help protect her people from the demons. Bai answered that he would think about it, but for now, all he wanted was food because he was extremely hungry. She took him to a place belonging to a sect called the Flower Sect. The moment he reached for the food, Tang stopped him and warned that the place was controlled by witches who enchanted their meals to lure men in and steal their money. She then told him that the sect leader, Suxiao, was one of the witches who had successfully bewitched the kingdom's emperor. According to Tang, the emperor had become so enchanted by her that he was willing to do anything just to marry her. As they spoke, Suxiao suddenly appeared, having overheard their conversation. She warmly greeted Bai, making it immediately obvious that the two of them knew each other quite well. Bai stood up to greet her and introduced her to Tang. He explained that although Suxiao had once been the 10th member of the demon clans, she was still noble and kind-hearted. He tried to ease the tension between them, but Tang remained suspicious, believing that Suxiao might be connected to the sudden rise in demon numbers and secretly planning to take control of the kingdom. Suxiao firmly denied the accusations and explained that she had already sent her people to investigate the true cause behind the increase in demons. She added that if she had truly wanted to seize the kingdom, she could have simply killed the emperor and taken everything long ago. Bai believed her words because he knew very well how powerful she was. Even so, he could see that Tang still refused to let go of her suspicions. Tang eventually left, warning Suxiao that she would continue watching her closely. Once she was gone, Bai asked Suxiao what information she had uncovered. She explained that the matter seemed to involve the immortal realm, the demon realm, and the spirit realm. Though she still lacked the full details, she then tried to get closer to Bai and charm him, but he politely declined her advances. Bai explained that he had no time for such things, as he was focused entirely on finding medicinal herbs that could prolong his life and keep him from dying and being dragged to the spirit realm. With that, he left immediately. The next day, he visited an herb shop to purchase what he needed, only for the shopkeeper to sadly inform him that every single ingredient he wanted was unavailable. Bai was greatly surprised, since those herbs were basic materials that should have been easy to find anywhere. The shopkeeper explained that the emperor's soldiers had collected every herb available in the markets. At that moment, two soldiers entered the shop discussing a grand celebration that would soon take place. They mentioned that they still needed children to offer as sacrifices, then asked the shopkeeper whether he had any children, but he nervously denied it and claimed that he lived only with his wife. Fear was written all over the shopkeeper's face, and Bai immediately sensed that something was wrong. To uncover the truth, he disguised himself as a small child and approached one of the soldiers. Pretending to be hungry, he told the man that he was an orphan with no parents and nothing to eat. The soldier eagerly seized the opportunity and took him away at once, allowing Bai to successfully infiltrate the emperor's palace. Once inside, Bai began observing the entire palace using one of his unique techniques. Everyone was busy preparing for the grand celebration. While the emperor was trying on his new clothes, he asked his guards whether Suxiao would like his appearance and finally agreed to marry him. It was painfully obvious that he had fallen deeply in love with her. The emperor then asked one of his guards whether they had gathered the children to be sacrificed during the ceremony. The guard replied that they had already captured some, but were still searching for more. At that moment, the emperor's daughter, Princess Rui, appeared. Bai watched closely and noticed that the princess looked remarkably similar to Tang, though he did not think much of it at the time. Bai approached one of the guards while pretending to serve food and casually asked where the festival would take place. The guard answered that it would be held in the imperial tombs. Meanwhile, Princess Rui was desperately trying to convince her father to abandon his plans to marry Suxiao, but he stubbornly refused. He told her that he truly loved Suxiao, and that one day she would understand once she met someone she loved enough to do anything for. He even suggested that she marry his minister, a man named Sima. It was obvious that Sima carried dark intentions, yet the emperor trusted him completely. The princess rejected the idea at once and mocked him, calling him a coward who never participated in demon battles or even wars. Enraged by her insult toward Sima, the emperor harshly scolded her, causing her to storm out in anger. Sima stepped in and calmed the emperor, assuring him that the princess would eventually understand and that it was best to leave her alone for now. After leaving, he found the princess waiting for him outside. She confronted him directly and demanded to know what he was planning, because she was convinced that he had sinister intentions. Sima denied everything and claimed that his only goal was to win her heart, as he had loved her for many years. He offered her a rose, but she angrily slapped it away and told him that whatever scheme he was planning would fail. She then stormed off, noticing only briefly that her hand had been scratched by the flower's thorn. After she disappeared, Sima picked up the rose and carefully extracted a drop of her blood from it, revealing that he was clearly plotting something dangerous. That night, Bai secretly infiltrated the imperial tombs. He began searching through the coffins of the ancient kings, taking anything that might prove useful to him. As he moved deeper inside, his attention was suddenly drawn to a powerful weapon known as the dragon sword. He approached it and attempted to claim it, but the instant he lifted it, hidden traps were activated and arrows shot toward him from every direction. Bai was nearly struck by the arrows, but Tang suddenly appeared and saved him at the very last moment. She immediately asked what he was doing there, and he calmly replied that he had come to investigate because he sensed something strange. She then led him to one particular tomb, which looked different from all the others. When Bai asked why it was unique, she explained that it belonged to the founding emperor, but she accidentally revealed that he was part of her family, confirming Bai's suspicion that she was the true princess. The two carefully examined the tomb and noticed something extremely unusual. Although the founding emperor had supposedly died over 100 years ago, the tomb looked spotless and pristine, as if it had only just been built. Suddenly, Bai signaled for Tang to lower her voice and quickly blew out the candle she was holding. At that exact moment, a hidden magical spell inside the tomb began to activate. Bai explained that the spell was an incredibly dangerous magical scroll because it carried an unnatural thirst for blood and was infused with powerful demonic magic. Tang immediately tried to burn the coffin to stop whatever was happening, but Bai stopped her and handed her a sleeping pill that caused her to lose consciousness. He explained that destroying it recklessly would have triggered a catastrophe capable of destroying the entire place. Afterward, he carried her away to safety. Bai took Tang to Suxiao and told her everything that had happened. He explained that everyone would immediately blame her for activating the scroll because of her expertise in magic and spellcraft. On top of that, they would accuse her of trying to manipulate the emperor in order to seize control of the kingdom. It was obvious that whoever had set this up was targeting her personally. Suxiao suggested destroying the scroll at once, but Bai refused. He explained that he wanted to discover who had created it, and destroying it would erase the only clue that could lead them to the culprit. At that moment, Tang woke up and expressed deep concern for her father. Hearing this, Suxiao immediately realized that Tang was the emperor's daughter. Suxiao then asked Bai to leave the room because she wanted to speak privately with the princess. Once he stepped outside, she revealed her back to Tang, where a large scar could clearly be seen. She then began telling her tragic story, explaining that she was the daughter of a human mother and a demonic father, and that her father was none other than the current demon king. She explained that long ago, a massive war had broken out between humans and demons. At the time, her father was only an ordinary soldier, but he kidnapped her mother and assaulted her, which led to Suxiao's birth. Her father considered her existence a mistake that should never have happened, so he tried to kill her. He brought the roof crashing down upon her, but her mother sacrificed herself to shield her, dying beneath the rubble. The Demon King believed both of them had died and left without looking back. But Suxiao survived, inheriting a portion of his immense power. In the present day, her father had discovered that she was still alive, and he was now trying to force her back to live with him. She was convinced that he had orchestrated the magical scroll incident in order to make humans hate and distrust her, leaving her with no choice but to return to him. Tang was deeply moved by Suxiao's story and decided to stand by her side. Elsewhere, Sima appeared while one of the guards informed him that all preparations were complete. It was then revealed that Sima was secretly one of the Demon King's followers, and he intended to use the children gathered by the guards to activate the spell during the next day's festival. The guards began preparing the children, completely unaware that Bai was disguised among them. The moment the guards left, Bai stood up and woke the other children. The next morning, crowds gathered in excitement for the grand festival. Tang approached the emperor and informed him that Suxiao had accepted his proposal and agreed to marry him. This was all part of Bai's plan, designed to make Suxiao's demonic father lose hope of ever reclaiming her. The ceremony began with great grandeur and formality. Sima stepped before the crowd and announced that the time had come for the emperor to honor his ancestors by offering the children as sacrifices. He prepared the platform where they were meant to be killed to activate the spell, only to freeze in shock when he found it completely empty. At that moment, the children suddenly appeared nearby, happily playing with Bai, who was still disguised as a small boy. Then Suxiao stepped forward before everyone and publicly announced that she had agreed to marry the emperor. Sima was consumed by rage, and his anger only deepened when she approached him and coldly told him to inform the Demon King that she would never return to him. Bai then stepped closer and mocked Sima's pathetic disguise, forcing him to reveal his true form. Sima transformed into a horrifying plant-like demon, while Bai returned to his original appearance. The instant Sima saw Bai, his fury intensified even further. Because Bai had killed his mother during the ancient war between humans and demons, he launched himself at Bai with all his strength. But Bai effortlessly blocked every attack. In a single swift movement, Bai closed the distance and whispered that his end had come. Then he slammed him violently to the ground and ordered him to surrender, making it clear that he stood no chance. At that moment, Suxiao stepped in and tried to convince him that the endless war between humans and demons served no purpose, because both sides would only lose in the end. Sima laughed mockingly at her words and admitted that although her intentions were noble, she was far too late. He then shocked everyone by revealing another way to activate the magical scroll. Sima explained that he had not created the scroll at all. It had actually been crafted by the founding emperor himself. The emperor's true goal had been to return to life by absorbing the blood of humans, and the alternate method for activating the spell required the blood of one of his descendants from the imperial bloodline. Sima then revealed that he had already taken a drop of Tang's blood, since she carried that very lineage. The drop of blood shot toward the emperor's tomb, instantly activating the spell. A gigantic monstrous flower suddenly emerged and began draining the blood of everyone present. Tang retreated toward Bai and told him that it was finally time to carry out the backup plan they had agreed upon earlier. Bai had known from the start that the founding emperor was the one behind the scroll, and that once activated, it could only be destroyed by someone from the imperial bloodline. However, doing so could very well cost Tang her life, because the founding emperor would return to life and kill anyone who stood in his way. Despite knowing the risk, Tang resolved to go through with it, even if it meant sacrificing herself. She reached the scroll just as the founding emperor was resurrected. When she asked why he would sacrifice his own people, he coldly replied that their impure blood was worthless, and that they were nothing more than simple offerings on his path toward immortality and absolute power. Tang cut herself and spread her blood across the ground in an attempt to break the spell, but her effort failed. The founding emperor approached Tang and told her that her blood was pure because she carried his lineage, and that absorbing it would greatly increase his power. As he began draining her energy, he successfully reached the golden realm of martial arts, an extremely dangerous and powerful level. At the most critical moment, Bai arrived and pulled Tang away before she could be killed. His sudden appearance completely interrupted the emperor's rise to absolute power. Bai stepped forward and looked at the founding emperor with pure contempt. He coldly told him that he was nothing more than a despicable man who had sacrificed his own people for the sake of power. Bai threw his sword toward him, but the emperor shattered it effortlessly and mocked Bai's seemingly weak cultivation level. Yet before he could even finish his taunt, Bai struck him with an overwhelming blow that slammed him violently into the wall. The emperor was completely stunned by Bai's strength, especially since his visible level appeared so low and unimpressive. But Bai gave him no time to think or recover. He grabbed him and unleashed a merciless barrage of attacks, smashing every bone in his body with brutal force. Then he spun him through the air like a giant fan before hurling him back into his tomb with terrifying power. Once the battle was over, Bai carried Tang to Suxiao so she could treat her injuries. After ensuring she was safe, he returned to the scene and burned the cursed spell for good. As he watched the flames consume it, memories of the ancient war between humans and demons flooded his mind. He remembered the battlefield covered in countless corpses, and among those memories, he saw a mysterious light descending from the sky and a figure asking him to become his disciple. The story then shifts to Tang, who stared at the small wound on her finger and wondered about the secret behind her unusual blood. She recalled what Suxiao had once told her, that her bloodline traced back to the Dragon Sage. In ancient times, the Dragon Sage had forged a sacred pact with humanity, and those who carried this blood were destined to become figures of immense importance. The realization only deepened Tang's curiosity about her true heritage. Tang then asked Suxiao about Bai. Suxiao explained that Bai had been training in martial arts for 3,000 years and held an incredibly prestigious status in the world of cultivation. He was respected by everyone and regarded as one of the most extraordinary figures alive. Hearing this, Tang immediately decided that she could not waste such an opportunity. So she approached Bai and asked him to teach her martial arts. Bai was clearly surprised by her request. At that exact moment, the emperor appeared and thanked him for saving his people, then formally requested that Bai accept the princess as his disciple. Bai initially refused, explaining that she was still too young and that learning martial arts was far from easy. Tang became furious and accused him of being afraid that she would learn too quickly and surpass him, which led to another one of their usual arguments. As time passed, we later see Bai deep within a forest, while a strange figure wearing bizarre clothing chased after him. The mysterious person quickly caught up, and the two exchanged several swift blows. Suddenly, a strange gate opened before them, and a tremendous force began pulling Bai toward it. It was then revealed that his pursuer was none other than Hades, who had returned to claim Bai's soul because the deadline he had given him had finally expired. Bai desperately begged for more time, but Hades refused and insisted on taking him away. Just as all hope seemed lost, Suxiao threw an energy pill toward him. The moment Bai consumed it, his lifespan was extended by another 355 days. This last-second rescue saved him from death, and Hades reluctantly retreated while warning Bai that he had been lucky this time, but would not escape the next encounter. The following day, Tang traveled to the sword sect and asked Zhou to let her become Bai's disciple. Zhou explained that he could not make such a decision on behalf of the sword master, but he suggested another idea. He asked her to accompany him in delivering supplies to Bai's secluded training grounds. Tang eagerly agreed and traveled with him, accompanied by several elders from her kingdom, who brought many valuable gifts for Bai. However, Bai immediately drove everyone away, allowing only Zhou and Tang to remain. Zhou explained that he had finally succeeded in translating part of the scroll Bai had received from Fang. He handed over the translated text and then left, accidentally forgetting to take Tang with him. Left alone, she continued pestering Bai and repeatedly begged him to accept her as his disciple, until he reluctantly allowed her to stay for the time being. That night, Bai told her that he had not yet agreed to train her and that he would ask Zhou to take her back in the morning. He then attempted to study the translated text, only to find it extremely difficult to understand. Tang approached curiously to see what he was doing and easily read the text aloud while translating it perfectly. Shocked, Bai asked how she could do such a thing, and she explained that she had spent her entire life in the palace studying translation and ancient languages. The next day, Bai asked her to translate the original version of the scroll. She told him that the task would be difficult and would require time, but assured him that she could handle it. In truth, she was cleverly using the opportunity to force him into accepting her as his disciple. Her plan worked perfectly, as Bai finally agreed to train her in exchange for her help with the translation. Tang quickly got to work and successfully translated the text, but they soon discovered that the scroll was incomplete and that a crucial section was missing. Bai immediately decided that he had to find the complete version if he ever hoped to reach the Foundation realm. He ordered Tang to prepare herself because she would accompany him on a training journey. Then he summoned Fang and informed them that their destination would be a place known as the Great Ruins. This was the very same place where Fang had previously discovered the engraved stones. Bai believed the missing part of the text was hidden there, making the journey absolutely necessary. Fang agreed without hesitation and prepared his flying sword to carry them. Tang was visibly excited, while Fang seemed somewhat nervous, but Bai reassured him and promised that he would personally protect them both. The three of them set out together, and Tang was overjoyed as she admired the breathtaking scenery from the sky. Along the way, they encountered several dangerous beasts, but defeated them with ease. After a long journey, they finally arrived at the Great Ruins, to their surprise. However, it appeared to be nothing more than a vast empty desert with absolutely nothing in sight. Bai asked Fang whether he was certain this was the right place, and Fang firmly confirmed that the engraved stones had indeed been here before. As they spoke, Tang noticed a small creature moving beneath the sand and approached it out of curiosity. It turned out to be bait set by a massive hidden beast that lunged toward her. Just before it could strike, Bai intervened and saved her, while Fang quickly finished the creature off. Fang suffered only a minor wound during the fight, and a single drop of his blood fell onto the sand. Suddenly, a magical gate hidden beneath the ground activated, and a massive stone rose from below bearing the exact same engravings Fang had copied before. Tang stepped closer to translate the writing, but the instant her blood-stained hand touched the stone, the earth shook violently. In the next moment, an enormous city emerged before them out of nowhere. The three of them stood there in complete amazement and decided to enter the city. Yet despite its massive size, it was completely empty, as though it had been abandoned for ages. Bai asked Tang whether she had managed to translate the inscription, but she admitted that she had not had enough time. At that exact moment, the sky suddenly darkened into complete blackness, and the terrifying sound of a bell echoed throughout the entire city. Their spiritual energy began draining rapidly the moment the bell rang. Bai and Fang managed to resist its effects, but they were shocked when Tang suddenly disappeared. She was walking toward the sound of the bell as if some invisible force was controlling her mind. Bai tried to stop her, but he was unable to break the strange influence at first. Then an idea struck him, and he used his sword to release a counter-sound wave that neutralized the bell's effect. His plan worked perfectly, causing Tang to collapse unconscious. Bai quickly picked her up, and the three of them immediately fled the city. He instructed Fang to carry her far beyond the bell's range, while he stayed behind to copy the writings engraved on the stone. The moment he began copying, the ground trembled violently and the stone started sinking back into the earth. Even so, Bai refused to stop and continued until he had copied every single symbol before it vanished completely. Once finished, he returned to Fang, who informed him that Tang's condition was critical because most of her spiritual energy had been drained away. With no time to waste, they rushed back to the sect as quickly as possible. On their journey back, they passed through an area where a strange magical formation had suddenly activated. However, Tang's condition was too serious for them to stop and investigate. As soon as they returned, Bai handed the copied texts to Zhou and ordered him to begin translating them immediately. He then went to check on Tang, convinced that what had happened to her was directly connected to the dragon bloodline she carried. Elsewhere, a small sphere of energy appeared and drifted toward a gigantic ancient tree. The sphere merged with it, forming a strange magical spell. Then, right beside the tree, the same mysterious city appeared once again. But this time there was a shadowy figure standing within it. The appearance of this figure hinted that something far more dangerous was beginning to unfold. Several days later, the scene shifted to a place known as the Formation Palace, a center dedicated to crafting powerful weapons. It was managed by two brothers who had just received alarming news from the Doling Empire. A strange city had appeared out of nowhere, and every warrior sent by the sect to investigate it had vanished without a trace. Upon hearing this, one of the brothers, Ren, decided to personally go and uncover the truth. Meanwhile, Tang continued training under Bai and displayed astonishing progress thanks to her dragon bloodline. Her growth was so extraordinary that it left even Bai feeling somewhat frustrated, as he feared she might one day surpass him. At the same time, Ren and his companions reached the mysterious city and immediately began attacking the soldiers stationed there. To their shock, they discovered that those soldiers were actually the missing warriors from the Doling Empire. Suddenly, strange monsters emerged from deep within the city and attacked them. Then the same haunting bell rang out once more, taking control of the soldiers. Under its influence, they repeated only one phrase over and over, that they had to kill the emperor. Ren and Elder Liu, who had accompanied him, remained unaffected because their cultivation levels were far too high. The danger did not end there, as a barrage of arrows suddenly rained down upon them. Elder Liu quickly formed a powerful defensive barrier that blocked every single attack. Together, he and Ren charged forward to batter the creatures. At the same time, the mysterious city began appearing in different regions of the world, drawing countless people toward it like a trap. Inside the city, the shadowy figure controlling everything finally revealed itself. It was shown standing over Ren's defeated body after successfully killing him. As it approached, it remarked that Ren's body was exactly the perfect vessel it had been searching for. It then activated a strange spell that allowed it to completely seize control of his body. The story then returned to Bai, who was sitting in frustration after learning that Tang had already reached the Foundation realm, the very stage he had failed to attain despite 3,000 years of effort. He was lost in his thoughts when Tang interrupted him, telling him she had finally completed the translation of the text he had given her. What she discovered was something deeply unsettling, because the text spoke of the immortal land. The immortal land was none other than the city that had appeared from nowhere. According to legend, it contained a being capable of controlling people's minds, luring them inside, and then stealing their bodies. Because of this terrible curse, the city had once been buried deep beneath the earth. Yet the texts claimed it would rise again whenever it was activated by someone carrying the dragon bloodline. At that exact moment, one of the disciples came rushing in and informed Bai that all the leaders of the sects had gathered and demanded his immediate presence. They had urgent matters to discuss regarding the immortal land. Realizing that the threat was very real, Bai headed toward the council without delay. When he arrived, he found every leader already waiting for him. Bai explained everything that had happened and confirmed that the immortal land had truly reappeared. Among those present was Commander Lion, Ren's brother. Lion begged Bai to save Ren no matter the cost, and Bai assured him that he would do everything possible. The greatest challenge, however, was that no one knew where the city would appear next, since its appearances were completely random. Their discussion was interrupted by Tang, who announced that she had an idea. She explained that the symbols Bai had copied from the stone contained a strange mark she had not understood at first. She now believed it might be the key to predicting the city's location. Together, they analyzed the symbol on a map and successfully identified where the city was likely to appear next. The entire group immediately headed toward the predicted location. Once they arrived, Bai decided to enter the city alone and ordered everyone else to remain outside. As soon as he stepped inside, the city seemed unnaturally silent. Then, without warning, the soldiers who had previously entered the city attacked him. Bai fought back instantly, killing those who charged at him. To his surprise, their bodies turned into skeletons the moment they were defeated. He quickly realized that they were merely empty shells stripped of free will. With one massive attack, he destroyed all of them at once and continued advancing deeper into the city. Eventually, he reached the main palace at the city's center. There, he found Ren suspended and bound before the gate, clearly struggling against the entity trying to control him. Bai freed him, but Ren immediately counterattacked with a poison needle. Bai caught it effortlessly, and at that moment, the creature revealed that it had fully taken control of Ren's body. The entity spoke to Bai, admitting that it had not encountered a human as strong as him in thousands of years. It then attacked with everything it had, but Bai easily blocked every strike and countered with overwhelming force. Realizing that Bai was far stronger, the creature retreated back into the palace. At that exact moment, the city itself began vanishing. Before it disappeared completely, Bai threw his sword into one of the buildings, leaving a mark behind. He then escaped just in time and returned to the group waiting outside. The moment he emerged, Tang walked straight up to him and slapped him across the face. She did it to confirm that he had not fallen under the city's control. Everyone was stunned by her boldness in striking the sword master, but her test confirmed that Bai was still himself. Lion immediately stepped forward and asked about his brother. Bai explained that the creature had taken control of Ren, but his consciousness was still fighting from within. That meant there was still hope of saving him. They then asked whether anyone else had survived the city. The answer was yes. Elder Liu was the only other survivor, though he had suffered severe injuries. That night, deep inside the immortal land, the creature was shown cruelly torturing Ren. It was also revealed that because Lion and Ren were twins, Lion could feel every bit of his brother's pain. Later, Bai went to visit Elder Liu and announced that he had brought servants to care for him. The surprise was that the two servants were actually Tang and Fang's assistant from the demon sect in disguise. The entire scene was a trap, because they suspected that Elder Liu was not the real one. Then it was revealed that the person posing as Lion was actually Bai in disguise. And after forcing Elder Liu to drink a special solution, they compelled him to finally reveal the truth. It was finally revealed that one of the beings from the immortal land had been controlling Elder Liu's body all along. Bai immediately questioned him about the true mastermind and their ultimate goal. The spirit confessed that their leader was known as the Immortal Prince, and that his mission was to resurrect the king bloodline. He also revealed that once a controlled soldier died, they would never have another chance to return to life. At that moment, Bai sensed the presence of Hades, who had been silently listening to everything. Hades appeared before them, and since his duty was to collect the souls of the dead, he easily extracted the spirit inhabiting Elder Liu's body and imprisoned it. Before leaving, he handed Bai a special scroll. He explained that this scroll would play a crucial role in the battle that was about to come. Afterward, Bai summoned all the sect leaders once again. He informed them that they had no choice but to unite their full strength if they wished to destroy the immortal land once and for all. He revealed that the city appeared once every 3 days. Then he distributed copies of the scroll Hades had given him, explaining that it contained a formation specifically designed to counter immortal beings. Bai also shared every piece of information they had obtained from the captured spirit. He explained that the ruler of the city was the Immortal Prince himself, and that he would personally confront him when the time came. Thus, preparations began for a decisive battle that would determine the fate of the entire world. The tension among the gathered leaders was overwhelming. At that moment, everyone realized that Lion was nowhere to be found. Some feared that he had taken his own life out of despair for his brother. To their surprise, he suddenly appeared at the doorway wearing an enormous suit of armor he had forged himself. He had built it for one purpose only, to save his brother no matter the cost, and his determination to fight until the very end was written clearly across his face. The days passed quickly, and the moment finally arrived when the city was expected to reappear. They successfully calculated the exact location where it would manifest, and all forces moved there immediately. Bai and Tang began placing warning talismans throughout the area and ordered every citizen to remain inside their homes no matter what happened. Anyone who stepped outside would be exposing themselves to certain death. Tang asked Bai why the immortal land had not appeared yet, as much more time had passed than expected. She began to worry that they might have chosen the wrong location. Bai calmly reassured her, explaining that he could still feel the faint vibration of the sword he had left behind inside the city. Moments later, the ground remained still, but suddenly the immortal land descended from the sky instead of rising from beneath the earth. The sect leaders and their soldiers immediately prepared for battle. The city floated ominously above them, and the terrifying bell began ringing once more in an attempt to seize control of their minds. This time, however, none of the soldiers were affected thanks to the anti-immortal formation Bai had prepared. Realizing this, the Immortal Prince, who was controlling Ren's body, was consumed by rage. The Immortal Prince activated a massive spell that spread across the entire city. From within it emerged a vast army of skeletal soldiers. Tang led the sect warriors forward, and the battle began. At first, the sect forces clearly held the advantage, while Bai remained on the ground below, patiently waiting for the Immortal Prince to reveal himself in person. Soon enough, the Immortal Prince entered the battlefield using Ren's body. He charged directly into the warriors, overwhelming them with his monstrous power. None of them could stand against him. When Zhou saw what was happening, he rushed forward to stop him. But he was no match. He was on the verge of being killed when Lion intervened at the critical moment. Lion ordered Zhou to fall back, declaring that this enemy was his to face. The Immortal Prince knew that Ren and Lion were twins connected by a powerful mental bond. He deliberately began harming Ren's body, causing Lion to feel the exact same pain. Then he mocked him mercilessly, claiming he would never be strong enough to defeat him. Enraged, Lion unleashed his full power and used his ultimate sword technique. The strike was devastating, wounding the Immortal Prince and shattering his mask. The prince was astonished by Lion's strength, yet he continued fighting without hesitation. Meanwhile, Tang and the disciples reached Bai, who ordered them to prepare the anti-immortal spell immediately. Bai then took Tang with him as they ascended toward the immortal land. While the battle continued below, the Immortal Prince deliberately gave Lion an opening to stab him. But Lion could not bring himself to strike, because doing so would mean killing his own brother. The prince exploited this hesitation, seized Lion by the throat, shattered his armor, and coldly told him that everything was over. Lion, however, declared that a monster like him could never truly restore the king bloodline. At that exact moment, the Immortal Prince briefly lost control of Ren's body. Ren used that instant to beg his brother to kill him. Unable to do it himself, Ren drove the sword into his own body. The immortal prince's spirit was forced out. Though Ren collapsed, gravely wounded, the prince's spirit then merged into Lion's shattered armor and attacked everyone around him. As Lion desperately tried to protect his brother, a sudden strike blasted the immortal prince away. Bai had finally arrived on the battlefield. He rushed to check on Lion, but the prince seized the opportunity and launched a surprise attack. Bai reacted at the very last second, using his sword to block the blow. A fierce battle erupted between them, and within moments Bai delivered a devastating strike that completely shattered the armor. Yet the immortal prince simply reformed it instantly. Bai destroyed it again and again, even severing the prince's head, but each time he reconstructed himself as if nothing had happened. The prince was utterly shocked by Bai's overwhelming power, especially since his visible cultivation level appeared so low. When he attempted another attack, Bai suddenly paused after noticing that his own sword had shattered. His gaze shifted toward the sword embedded in Ren's body. Lion quickly warned him to handle it carefully, because it carried the very essence of his brother. Bai grasped the new sword and charged forward. With a single strike, he split the armor cleanly in half. This time, the immortal prince could not restore it and was forced to reveal his true form. Realizing he had no way out, he played his final card. He rose into the sky and absorbed the souls of every skeletal soldier within the city. Then he summoned a massive mountain of clouds, revealing an enormous palace hidden within them known as the Palace of Eternal Wisdom. He shouted a challenge to Bai, declaring that if he truly dared to fight him, he should come there. Then he vanished into the palace. Afterward, Bai gathered with the remaining clan leaders to discuss their next move. One of them, General Zhang, suggested scouting the palace himself. But the moment he approached, a massive bolt of lightning struck him and knocked him unconscious. One of the sages then explained that no one could enter the palace unless they had reached the level of immortality or possessed truly extraordinary power. The sages also explained that the laws of time and space inside the palace were completely different from the outside world. Bai ordered everyone to retreat temporarily while he searched for more information. He returned to the immortal land, where he found Hades collecting the souls of the fallen. Bai questioned Hades about the Palace of Eternal Wisdom, but Hades refused to reveal its secrets, claiming the information was forbidden. Even so, he advised Bai to discover the truth for himself. When Bai explained that the lightning prevented them from approaching, Hades calmly told him that those with cultivation as low as his would not even be targeted by the palace's defenses. Bai then returned to the sword sect, where all the sect leaders were already gathered. He announced that he would personally enter the palace. At that moment, Suxiao interrupted with important news. She revealed that her guards had witnessed a martial arts beginner entering the palace the previous night without being struck by lightning, revealing a clue that could change everything. Suxiao explained that the beginner was only at the Foundation Realm. From this, Bai concluded that anyone at the Foundation Realm or below could safely enter the palace. He immediately decided to go himself, and the other leaders suggested sending some of their disciples with him so he would not be alone. They also saw this as an opportunity to obtain the countless treasures hidden within the palace, since it had been built by immortals. It was greed for those treasures that had driven the beginner to enter in the first place. That night, Tang was furious when Bai refused to let her accompany him. He explained that he feared for her safety because her dragon bloodline had activated the immortal land, and her presence there could place her in grave danger. Even so, Tang stubbornly insisted that she would go with him no matter what. In the end, Bai agreed to let Tang come with him, but only under one condition. He handed her 3 magical talismans and ordered her to activate them immediately if she sensed even the slightest danger. Meanwhile, on the other side, the immortal prince was watching the warrior who had entered the palace while monsters held him captive. After observing him carefully, the prince decided that the warrior's body was suitable and prepared to seize it for himself. At the same time, Bai arrived at the palace entrance alongside the sect leaders. They decided to test the entrance first, so they sent a fake puppet toward the gate to see whether the palace would react. The moment it approached, an overwhelming attack was unleashed, nearly striking everyone present. Bai reacted instantly and blocked the attack with his sword, protecting the group from disaster. Then the immortal prince's voice echoed from deep inside the palace, mocking their childish attempts. He told them to stop wasting time and enter directly if they had the courage. Bai then prepared himself alongside the 4 disciples chosen to accompany him: Tang, Vivi from the military sect, Mikao from the flower sect and disciple of Suxiao, and Jin from the demon sect under Fang's guidance. As they approached, they passed through safely without being struck by lightning. They suddenly found themselves standing within a strange empty void, unlike anything they had ever seen before. In the distance, they noticed a massive gate and moved toward it cautiously. The moment they crossed through it, they felt as though they had entered an entirely different world. Bai nearly lost his balance, but Jin quickly caught him before he could fall. Once they regained their footing, Tang noticed a massive stone wall covered in ancient writing. She translated it and discovered that it described the 8 sufferings of life, declaring that any warrior who wished to reach the final goal would have to overcome each one. Bai immediately suspected it was some elaborate trap. At that exact moment, another gate appeared before them. It represented the first suffering, love. The 5 entered and found themselves in a beautiful and peaceful place. Yet Bai immediately sensed something was wrong. His instincts told him that the seemingly calm environment concealed danger. It did not take long for him to discover that the area was filled with magical smoke. The smoke quickly took control of the 4 girls, causing all of them to suddenly fall madly in love with Bai. Each began arguing with the others, insisting that she alone deserved to be his lover. The immortal prince watched from afar, laughing as he claimed that even the strongest warriors could never overcome the 8 sufferings. But Bai shocked him by taking a deep breath and inhaling all of the magical smoke into his own body. The girls immediately woke up with no memory of what had happened. When Bai explained the situation to them, they became deeply embarrassed and could barely look him in the eye. The prince could hardly believe that his first trial had been broken so easily. Before they could recover, the ground began shaking violently. Massive stones moved around them, trapping them from every direction. This was the second trial, the suffering of birth. Bai immediately used his sword to cut open a massive gap, allowing all of them to escape. Furious, the immortal prince angrily accused him of cheating. They then entered the third trial. They nearly fell into a deep abyss, but Bai quickly saved them. After reading the writing carved into a nearby stone, he learned that this was the trial of aging. Suddenly, a beam of light shot down and struck the 4 girls, instantly transforming them into elderly women. The moment they saw their wrinkled faces and frail bodies, they burst into tears. Bai tried to calm them, but they were far too distressed to listen. Realizing there was no point, he left them briefly and focused on reading the instructions for a solution. Just then, the beam turned toward him, and Tang desperately tried to warn him, but she was too late. To everyone's shock, the beam had absolutely no effect on Bai. Even the immortal prince was stunned by what he saw. The group continued onward, but the girls had become so weak that they could barely move, and some nearly fell asleep from exhaustion. Left with no other choice, Bai carried all 4 of them on his back. The moment they left the trial's boundary, their youthful appearances were instantly restored. Overjoyed, they celebrated briefly before finding themselves inside an enormous and breathtaking rose garden. Though the scenery was beautiful, the flowers soon began releasing strange substances into the air. Bai immediately sensed danger. He ordered everyone to use their spiritual energy to create protective barriers around themselves. The girls initially assumed this was simply another trick like the love trial, but after reading the nearby inscription, Bai discovered that this was the trial of illness. The realization made everyone far more cautious. The immortal prince observed them and mocked their foolishness, pointing out that only idiots would expect him to repeat the same trick twice. As they advanced, Tang suddenly began feeling extremely weak. Bai quickly realized that the flowers were not releasing ordinary poison, but were instead draining spiritual energy directly from their victims. Mikao's skin broke out in painful rashes, Jin felt intense agony in her leg, and Vivi was struck by a burning fever. As usual, Bai remained completely unaffected. Thinking quickly, he pulled out a magical scroll and activated it, creating a special barrier around the 4 girls that protected their spiritual energy from further loss. Bai then moved swiftly through the garden, cutting down every flower in sight. He assumed their effects would vanish once destroyed, but to his surprise, the flowers instantly regenerated. Worse still, they began absorbing the spiritual energy feeding the protective barrier until it collapsed entirely. The immortal prince believed this would finally be Bai's end. Instead, Bai calmly created another barrier as if nothing had happened. He declared that if the flowers wanted spiritual energy so badly, he would gladly give them more than they could handle. He slashed through them once again, but this time he flooded them with his own overwhelming spiritual energy. The energy was so immense that the flowers could not contain it, causing them all to explode at once. The immortal prince stared in disbelief, unable to comprehend that yet another trap had failed. His assistant could only laugh and remark that tricks like these would never work against a man as absurdly powerful as Bai. It was becoming increasingly clear that Bai was unlike any opponent they had ever faced. The group then advanced to the next trial, the suffering of death. Bai felt strangely melancholic upon entering, because he immediately recognized the place as the spirit realm itself. The area was peaceful and beautiful, so much so that the girls felt completely at ease and no longer wished to leave. Yet their calm was short-lived. They soon encountered Hades, who placed them aboard a small boat and informed Bai that Lord Yama wished to see him personally. The boat carried them down a dark river until they reached the Bridge of Forgetfulness. There they were greeted by a girl named Ming, who offered each of them a special drink required to cross the bridge safely. The girls stared into the river and saw reflections of their deepest memories. Alarmed by what they saw, they quickly drank their cups to avoid being consumed by those visions. Bai, however, was shocked when Ming placed an entire barrel in front of him instead of a simple cup. The sight left him completely speechless. He protested, explaining that he had crossed this bridge before and had already drunk the potion once in the past. Ming coldly refused to make an exception and insisted that he drink it again. While this was happening, the girls began seeing Bai's memories reflected in the river's surface. They witnessed fragments of his painful 3,000-year struggle and were horrified by the suffering he had endured. When Bai noticed that they were watching his memories, he became deeply embarrassed. He quickly grabbed the barrel, drank the potion, and told the girls to go ahead without him, promising that he would catch up later. He clearly wanted to hide the rest of his painful past from their eyes. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the immortal prince was speaking with his assistant. The assistant explained that Bai's presence in the spirit realm presented a perfect opportunity. If they could convince Lord Yama not to allow Bai and his companions to leave, they would be trapped there forever. It seemed like the perfect plan. However, they had not anticipated one crucial fact. Bai and Yama were old friends. The moment they met, both were visibly delighted, and their reunion quickly turned into a playful challenge between them. To the immortal prince's disbelief, Bai won the contest with ease, shattering yet another one of his carefully laid plans. After their meeting ended, the group left the spirit realm carrying precious gifts. However, Bai returned them to Hades and asked him to thank Lord Yama on his behalf. Hades bid them farewell, warning Bai once again about the danger of the immortal land and urging him to stay cautious. Bai answered with his usual confidence, saying he would remain perfectly fine until Hades personally came to claim his soul. The group continued moving forward, while the girls felt disappointed that Bai had given up such valuable treasures. He quickly ordered them to focus, reminding them that they had entered an entirely new phase of the trials. The moment they crossed into the next area, they found themselves surrounded by endless darkness. It felt like an eternal night filled with stars, while gigantic mirrors stood all around them. Bai read the instructions carved into one of the mirrors and was shocked to discover that the 5th, 6th, and 7th trials had merged into one. The first of these combined challenges was the trial of obsession. He immediately sensed that the immortal prince was trying to speed things up and eliminate them all at once. It was clear the prince had grown impatient. Suddenly, Bai found himself completely alone as the others vanished. The mirrors began showing him false illusions. He saw his master scolding him for still failing to reach the foundation realm, and he also saw visions of his parents abandoning him as a helpless child. At the same time, Tang faced her own illusion, where her father cruelly told her that he had always hated her and wished she had been born a boy instead. Each member of the group experienced similar torment. Every one of them was forced to hear the most painful words imaginable from the people they loved most. Yet none of those illusions managed to break their will. Instead, they began smashing the mirrors one by one until they finally freed themselves completely from the deception. Bai calmly explained that his master had already reached the peak of martial arts long ago and was no longer capable of defeating him. So such words made no sense. He also admitted that he had never even met his parents because he had been born an orphan, and therefore held no hatred toward them. By recognizing the lies for what they were, they successfully overcame the trial of obsession. But before they could even catch their breath, the trial of hatred began. The shattered mirrors suddenly reassembled themselves into a gigantic serpent that attacked them without warning. Bai immediately activated a spell and formed a massive protective barrier around the group. At first, the barrier held firm against the creature's assault. However, cracks soon began spreading across the shield under the monster's overwhelming pressure. Realizing they needed another strategy, Bai handed each of the girls a special talisman and ordered them to scatter. He instructed that whichever one the serpent chose to pursue should activate her talisman instantly, giving him the opening he needed to strike. The plan was simple but dangerous. The serpent chased Tang first, and she activated her talisman exactly as ordered. In that same instant, Bai launched himself forward and destroyed the creature completely. Among the shattered remains, he noticed a rare gem known as the Moonstone. Seeing how valuable it was, a rather unusual idea immediately crossed his mind. He ordered everyone to summon the deepest things they hated into their minds, forcing their inner demons to manifest. His goal was for them to defeat these creatures and collect even more gems from their remains. They continued doing this for a long time, gathering a fortune so enormous that it would have been enough to build entire kingdoms. What had started as a deadly trial was quickly turning into treasure farming. While they were distracted, a small serpent suddenly appeared behind Jin and nearly struck her. Tang reacted instantly and saved her, taking the injury in her place. Vivi quickly destroyed the snake, but they immediately noticed something strange. Unlike the others, this one did not shatter upon death. It remained alive. Then it swallowed the drop of Tang's blood that had fallen to the ground and transformed into a colossal serpent far larger than any they had faced before. The beast attacked with wild fury and nearly landed a fatal blow on Tang. At the last possible moment, Bai intervened and blocked the attack. His arrival saved everyone from certain disaster. Bai was stunned by the sheer size of this hatred beast and scolded Jin for apparently carrying so much hatred within her heart. But he quickly realized the true reason for its sudden growth when he noticed Tang's wound. The creature had become stronger after absorbing the dragon blood flowing through her veins. He charged at it immediately and unleashed a series of devastating attacks. To his surprise, this monster proved far tougher than any previous enemy and withstood his strikes at first. Even so, after an intense struggle, the beast finally shattered just like the others. From its remains fell an enormous amount of precious gems. The immortal prince observed everything with great interest. At that moment, he truly understood the terrifying potential hidden within the dragon bloodline. A smile spread across his face as he realized that the opportunity he had been waiting for had come directly to him. He became determined to obtain Tang's blood at any cost. Meanwhile, Bai came up with another strategy. Since they had spent so long inside without finding any clear route forward, he handed Tang a special stone capable of sensing locations and storing exact coordinates. He instructed her to remain in place and record everything carefully so they could analyze it once they returned. The rest of the team would continue training with him. Bai then began summoning hatred beasts one after another, forcing the girls to work together to defeat them. His true purpose, however, was to keep Tang out of direct combat and tempt the immortal prince into revealing himself in an attempt to seize her blood. It was a carefully calculated trap disguised as training. After a long period of this, the scene shifted to Suxiao's palace. Fang was there, visibly anxious and irritated because of Bai's prolonged absence. He was deeply worried about Jin, his disciple who had entered the palace alongside Bai. His concern was obvious despite his usual composure. Suxiao tried to calm him and assured him that Bai was far too powerful to let any of the girls come to harm. She then offered him a calming drink, which eventually caused him to drift off to sleep. Once he was unconscious, her expression immediately changed. It became clear she had been waiting for this moment. She revealed that another presence had been hiding in the room and ordered it to show itself. A demoness emerged and informed her that her father, the Demon King, had died. She explained that the demon realm had descended into chaos and that Suxiao needed to return immediately to claim the throne. Suxiao firmly refused, insisting that she had no desire to go back. She suggested that the demon leaders decide among themselves who should rule, but the demoness warned her that none of the leaders trusted one another, and that their conflict could soon erupt into full-scale civil war. She also explained that because Suxiao carried the pure blood of the royal line, every demon would respect her decision if she accepted the throne. More importantly, continued instability could trigger another war between humans and demons. If that happened, the very human Suxiao had devoted herself to protecting would face unimaginable catastrophe. Meanwhile, back inside the palace, Bai continued training the girls relentlessly. Through teamwork and constant effort, they finally managed to defeat one of the hatred beasts completely on their own. Their improvement was undeniable, and for the first time, it seemed they were truly beginning to grow strong enough to face what lay ahead. Meanwhile, Tang continued exploring the area using the special stone Bai had given her. The immortal prince was watching everything closely, and he finally decided to intervene personally in order to obtain the dragon blood. At that same moment, Bai returned to the girls and congratulated them on their success, explaining that their strength had grown tremendously. He was clearly pleased with their progress. However, despite how exhausted they were, Bai shocked them by announcing that their training was not over yet. He summoned even more monsters while quietly wondering why his plan to lure out the immortal prince had still not worked. He began thinking that if necessary, he might have to destroy the entire place just to force the prince to reveal himself. His patience was beginning to wear thin. Suddenly, a gate opened in the sky, and the spirit of the immortal prince emerged from it. It began collecting the gems left behind by the hatred beasts, and alongside it appeared a gigantic demon. Bai's first thought was not fear, but panic that the fortune he had worked so hard to gather was about to be stolen. Then the demon declared that he had come to defeat Bai and claim his body for himself. Bai laughed mockingly and called him weak and foolish, insisting that he was incapable of doing anything. The insult enraged the demon, who immediately charged at him. Bai effortlessly sliced off one of his arms. The demon screamed in pain, but his arm regenerated instantly, so he attacked again with a kick, only for Bai to sever his leg just as easily. Bai quickly noticed that every time he cut off a part of the demon's body, enormous precious gems fell from it. A wickedly clever idea immediately crossed his mind. He began provoking the demon even more, asking whether he was truly a prince or merely a fake. He even mocked him by suggesting he was probably an illegitimate child. The demon completely lost control and attacked wildly in blind rage. Bai calmly continued slicing him apart over and over while happily collecting the rare gems falling from his body. He kept provoking him until the demon finally reached his absolute limit and unleashed a devastating attack powerful enough to destroy the entire area. Yet Bai blocked it casually with one hand without moving an inch. After that, Bai gathered an enormous amount of energy into his weapon and unleashed a crushing strike that tore the demon apart completely. Once the threat was gone, he immediately ordered the girls to hurry and gather all the gems before they could disappear. For Bai, even in the middle of life and death battles, treasure was still treasure. Elsewhere, Suxiao had gathered the sect leaders and informed them that war with the demons might soon break out again. Everyone became deeply concerned, knowing that their resources and equipment were nowhere near enough for a full-scale conflict. Some leaders, such as Fang, seemed eager for battle, but Suxiao calmed them and told them they had to wait for Bai's return before making any decisions. She added that if the situation spiraled out of control, she would personally return to the demon realm and claim the throne herself to prevent war. Her words carried great weight, and everyone understood the seriousness of the situation. The possibility of another devastating conflict loomed over them all. Back inside the palace, Bai had somehow captured the immortal prince himself and was torturing him in an attempt to force more rare gems out of him. Unable to bear the pain, the prince began crying and begged Bai to simply kill him. To Bai's delight, he discovered that even the prince's tears transformed into precious gems. This only made him more excited. and he continued humiliating him to make him cry even harder. At that very moment, Mikao called out to him and warned that something was terribly wrong. The jade chain Suxiao had given to Tang had suddenly shattered, a clear sign that danger had struck. Bai instantly understood the gravity of the situation and decided to destroy the entire area so they could return immediately. But the immortal prince used the distraction to his advantage. He slipped underground and reached Tang before Bai could react. In an instant, he dragged her beneath the earth. Everyone heard Tang's cry, but they could not determine where she had been taken. The prince's voice then echoed around them as he revealed that he had used the dragon blood to activate the place's true power. Vivi tried attacking the ground in desperation, but Bai stopped her and ordered everyone to wait. Suddenly, the earth cracked apart and everything began collapsing. A strange portal opened and dragged all of them inside. When they emerged on the other side, they found themselves within the hidden section of the palace that housed the immortal prince's throne room. The prince's assistant, who turned out to be nothing more than a living skull, seemed delighted that Bai had finally arrived. Bai, however, made it clear that his only concern was finding Tang before the prince could harm her. Just as he prepared to move, he heard a faint voice calling to him from beneath the rubble. He pulled out the skull, which immediately revealed a shocking truth. It was not the prince's servant at all, but the true immortal sage, the original master of this place. The sage explained that he had built the palace long ago, but after losing his power, the immortal prince had seized control of it. Then he offered Bai a deal. He promised to guide Bai to Tang before the prince could fully absorb the dragon blood. In exchange, Bai would have to defeat the immortal prince and free him from his imprisonment. The sage also promised to answer any question Bai wished to ask. Hearing this, Bai became extremely excited because he realized this might finally reveal the secret of reaching the Foundation realm. Without hesitation, he accepted. The immortal sage continued his explanation, revealing that the immortal land had originally been built using dragon blood. Its purpose had been to protect the King family during times of war, but the immense power contained within that blood had awakened an ancient demon of terrifying strength. Because of that demon, countless legendary martial arts masters had perished. In the end, those masters had barely succeeded in sealing it away. However, the sage believed that the seal had begun to weaken, which was the true reason behind all the chaos now unfolding. Bai realized that what awaited him was no longer just a battle against the immortal prince, but a confrontation with an ancient force capable of threatening the entire world. At that very moment, the immortal prince was trying to resurrect that demon using Tang's blood. The sage warned Bai that the situation was extremely dangerous. Even if Bai was strong enough to defeat the demon directly, attempting to destroy it by force could kill Tang as well. This made the situation far more complicated than anyone had expected. Meanwhile, Tang slowly regained consciousness and found herself trapped in a completely unfamiliar place. Chains made of blood were wrapped tightly around her body, preventing even the slightest movement. Standing before her, the immortal prince smiled coldly and told her that she had awakened just in time to witness the return of the great demon. Then he ordered her to remain still while her blood was fully absorbed. But Tang refused to stay silent. She mocked the immortal prince and confidently told him that Bai would find her sooner or later, and when he did, he would erase every trace of his dignity from existence. Meanwhile, Bai was already preparing to move. He ordered the immortal sage to watch over everyone, reassured his companions that he would return quickly, and stepped through the gate that would lead him directly to the prince's location. The moment he arrived, a voice echoed through the darkness, telling him that the time had finally come and that his body would soon belong to its new master. It was the voice of the immortal prince. By then, the prince had already succeeded in summoning the great demon once again, and it now stood before Bai as a colossal monstrous beast. The creature's mere presence shook the entire space. The beast lunged toward Bai with terrifying speed. Bai initially stepped back to assess the situation, but he quickly realized there was no room for retreat. He charged forward instead and sliced through one of the creature's legs. The monster let out an earth-shaking scream of pain, but Bai gave it no chance to recover and leapt directly toward its head, delivering a brutal strike. To his surprise, the wounds regenerated instantly as though nothing had happened. The beast then opened its mouth and unleashed an enormous magical blast. but Bai evaded it with incredible precision. The creature followed by hurling a massive sphere of spiritual energy at him. Bai accelerated at full speed, pierced straight through it, and struck the beast once more. Yet every wound healed again. At that moment, the immortal prince spoke mockingly, revealing the cruel truth. Every attack Bai landed on the demon accelerated the absorption of Tang's blood. In other words, every attempt to save her was bringing her closer to death. Even so, Bai did not hesitate for a second and continued his assault. During the battle, Bai finally managed to catch sight of the demon's heart. He immediately launched himself toward it, but the prince sensed the danger and forced the beast to retreat. Then he gathered an immense amount of spiritual energy and formed a gigantic attack aimed directly at Bai. Yet Bai stood his ground as if the assault meant absolutely nothing to him. He charged again toward the heart, but this time the beast covered it with layers of hardened bone. The impact hurled Bai high into the air. At that moment, Bai calmly declared that the time for playing around was over. He poured an enormous amount of spiritual energy into his sword and dived downward with all his strength. This strike pierced straight through the demon's heart. At last, the beast was destroyed completely. Everyone watching from behind the gate erupted in joy as they witnessed Bai's victory. But the immortal sage immediately sensed that something was terribly wrong. His expression darkened at once. Sure enough, the instant the demon's body vanished, Tang appeared before them, still bound tightly by chains of blood. Bai rushed forward to save her, but the immortal prince stopped him. He revealed that Tang's life had been linked directly to his soul, and that any harm done to him would instantly kill her. The revelation froze everyone in place. The immortal sage quickly explained the full danger. The prince was now trying to activate the power of the entire palace of eternal wisdom. If Tang was not freed before all of her blood was drained, she would die. But forcibly trying to release her would also kill her, because only the prince himself could sever the bond connecting them. At the same time, news reached Suxiao that Sacred Wisdom Mountain had fallen into complete chaos. It had begun attacking the surrounding city with violent storms and destructive force. Panic spread among the citizens as devastating assaults rained down endlessly from the mountain. The entire region was falling into disaster. Back at the battlefield, the immortal prince told Bai that he had originally intended to keep Tang alive. But now that Bai had killed his demon, Tang's blood had to be used to fully awaken the power of sacred wisdom. He then offered Bai a single deal. If Bai willingly surrendered his body, Tang would be released. Tang regained consciousness at that very moment and screamed at Bai not to accept. She told him that his life was far more important and that he had to destroy the place even if it meant her death, because countless innocent lives would be endangered if the prince was not stopped. Yet to everyone's shock, Bai agreed to the prince's offer. He calmly told the prince that he would surrender his body, but only after Tang was freed first. Tang desperately tried to stop him, warning that if the prince gained control of Bai's body, the resulting catastrophe would be even worse. Bai simply told her to stay calm and reminded her of the talisman he had given her earlier. He ordered her to activate it the moment the prince began taking control. The prince accepted and immediately began transferring his soul into Bai's body. He possessed 3 separate souls. One remained behind to maintain control over Tang, while the other 2 entered Bai. Everything appeared to be unfolding exactly as the prince had planned. His confidence grew with every passing second. Then, in the final moment, everything changed. Bai suddenly seized both souls inside his own body and revealed that the prince had fallen directly into his trap. Terror filled the prince as he realized his souls were now in danger of being destroyed. He tried threatening to kill Tang, but Bai answered with absolute confidence that his disciple was fully capable of handling the situation herself. At that exact instant, Tang activated the talisman Bai had given her. A catastrophic explosion of spiritual energy erupted and filled the entire space. The girls outside the gate were horrified, knowing that no one, no matter how powerful, could possibly survive an explosion of such magnitude. For a moment, all hope seemed lost. Then the scene suddenly shifted into a strange void like endless nothingness. Tang was falling through the darkness, surrounded by a protective barrier of energy. Moments later, Bai appeared and caught her in his arms. Confused, she asked whether they had died. Bai calmly told her no, explaining that what had happened was simply the result of the destruction of the world they had been trapped in. He explained that she had lost an enormous amount of blood. Then he used his power to transport them both out of that empty void. Moments later, they arrived back where the others were waiting. The girls exploded with joy when they saw both of them alive, and all of them were left stunned by the terrifying level of power Bai had displayed. But Bai did not stop to celebrate. He immediately turned toward the immortal sage and demanded that he use whatever power he had left to get everyone out of that place at once. According to Bai, the true battle was far from over. Whatever awaited them outside could be far more dangerous than anything they had faced inside the palace. But the immortal sage looked deeply frustrated and sorrowful. He told Bai that everything they were doing was pointless because everyone was doomed to die no matter what. He explained that the reason was simple. Bai had destroyed the palace's main core, making its collapse inevitable. Even so, Bai refused to give up hope and ordered him to send them all outside immediately, no matter the cost. The sage then explained that the true problem was not the palace itself, but what would happen when it collapsed. Its destruction would trigger a massive chain reaction that would wipe out every nearby region. Bai was horrified when he realized that Tang's entire kingdom would be annihilated within moments if they failed to act. Without hesitation, he ordered the sage to transport them out as quickly as possible so they could do something. The sage immediately began activating the transportation spell. Moments later, they were all sent outside. There, the sect leaders and their warriors were already gathered, desperately trying to repel the devastating attacks being unleashed from the Palace of Wisdom. But the attacks only grew more violent by the second, and soon the mountain itself began splitting apart as streams of lava erupted from its depths. The sight was absolutely terrifying, because from the outside the Palace of Wisdom was nothing more than an enormous mountain. At that moment, everyone realized the situation had spiraled completely out of control. Fang declared that all hope was lost and decided to sacrifice himself to save everyone else. Suxiao desperately tried to stop him, but she could not hold him back. Just then, Bai finally appeared. He ordered Fang to calm down and stop acting recklessly. Everyone was stunned to see him return alive, and no one was happier than Fang, who immediately rushed forward and hugged him tightly. Yet there was no time for reunion, because the mountain was now launching attacks more violently than ever before. Ironically, the same Fang who had been pretending to act bravely only moments earlier suddenly grabbed Zhou and fled alongside the others. One by one, everyone retreated and left the impossible task to Bai alone. Bai stood silently before the collapsing mountain, fully aware that destroying it directly would trigger a catastrophe and kill countless innocent people. Then, a completely insane idea entered his mind. He decided to absorb the entire Sacred Wisdom Mountain into the core of his own energy. The moment he began, the mountain trembled violently. Massive pieces of it broke apart and started rushing toward the center of Bai's inner energy like stars being swallowed by a black hole. The amount of power flooding into him was so overwhelming that it filled the entire sky. Everyone watched in stunned silence, unable to believe what they were seeing. Some wondered if Bai's body could possibly withstand such unimaginable force, or whether he would explode under the unbearable pressure. The tension was unbearable. Yet in the end, Bai succeeded. He absorbed the entirety of Sacred Wisdom's power down to the very last fragment. Then he stood there as if absolutely nothing had happened, as though he had merely been playing with a child. No one could believe what they had just witnessed. Relief and joy swept across everyone, because their lives were finally safe. Several days passed after that, and Tang finally regained consciousness. She remembered nothing of what had happened. Her friend came to her side and explained everything, telling her how Bai had displayed unbelievable strength and saved them all. Hearing this, Tang felt both astonishment and immense pride. Meanwhile, Bai sat with the immortal sage and asked him the question he had longed to hear answered for 3,000 years, whether he could truly reach the Foundation Realm. The sage calmly told him that yes, he absolutely could. At those words, overwhelming joy filled Bai's heart. This was the dream he had pursued for 3,000 relentless years. But his excitement did not last long. When he immediately asked how he could achieve it, the sage bluntly admitted that he had no idea. Bai exploded with anger and accused him of lying and deceiving him. After all, he was an immortal sage and should have known the answer to such a question. Bai then asked another question, this time about his true power and whether it had limits. The sage explained that Bai's strength was already extraordinary beyond measure, perhaps even making him the strongest being in existence. This revelation left Bai completely stunned. It meant his body had become something comparable to that of the immortals themselves, and his potential might truly be limitless. The sage then offered him one final piece of advice. He told Bai to search through the records of the very first immortal in history, because that ancient figure had once faced the exact same condition Bai was experiencing now. Those words reignited Bai's determination instantly. From that moment on, he resolved to continue his journey without hesitation until he finally reached the foundation realm he had chased for so long. And so, this is where our story comes to an end for now. Yet Bai's journey is far from over. In truth, its real beginning may only just be unfolding. The great question remains, will Bai finally achieve his lifelong dream of reaching the foundation realm? Or does his path still hold even greater trials ahead? So far, no new season has been released, but when the next chapter finally arrives, the rest of this epic journey will at last be revealed.